Hey everyone, this one is going to be a little different. It's not specifically about any particular magic card. It is kind of a little bit of a rant about maybe a philosophy, you might call it. And it kind of came up in one of the videos that we were talking about Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, and the idea that making a move, making a good move that moves the ball forward, that keeps things going, is way better than making a perfect move that takes longer to figure out. And the reason for that is because every good move makes more good things happen, and it kind of snowballs. So, it's like investing money. If you have $10,000, you could try and find the perfect investment vehicle, but if it takes you a year, you've missed out on a year worth of interest. And it kind of cuts through all of life. I mean, it's a really important concept, and it's something that I don't really hear people talk about very much, and a bunch of things that I've been saying lately kind of touch on this concept, so I wanted to get some thoughts down in a video. Let me know if you guys are interested in this or not. But this kind of ties into everything in life. When you're talking about dual lands, I don't think I've ever heard anybody complain about how much they paid for their dual lands 5 years later. But I have heard thousands of people complain about not buying Underground Sea back when it was cheaper. Why is that? Why? I mean, I'm literally the only person I know who's crazy enough to be complaining about the price that they paid on their dual lands. And that's part of the reason why this wasn't so obvious to me, is because I actually remember paying $12 for Underground Seas when I thought it was a $10 card. It was available at $10 just months prior, and sure, it had moved up to $12, but I felt like, wow, like I can't believe this person's going to stick it to me, for an extra 20% when they haven't been able to sell the cards for a few months. So, but that story outlines kind of a kind of craziness there, where like I am very often focused on being as efficient as possible, and you have to, just because that's your nature doesn't mean it's right. Like my nature tends to be very precise and to figure out exactly the best way to do things, and to then just leverage that up as much as you can. And that's not always the right path. And that's something that I'm always trying to be mindful of, is just because something instinctually feels correct, you got to have a good understanding of that. Sometimes you just got to get stuff done. Sometimes the extra benefit of taking the time to get something perfect isn't worth it at all. It's like when they make transistors, my understanding of the manufacturing process there is they just make a ton of them as fast as possible, and then they just throw out the bad ones. Like they could do it way slower and have zero waste. They could actually like have a manufacturing process where every single one that comes off of the line, perfect. But they don't, because it's easier to just take care of the small amounts of mistakes in post. Just really not that big a deal. So when you think about something like Underground Sea, Gaia's Cradle, whatever these cards are that you want, what I've been recommending to people for the last 25 years is you figure out what you can be responsibly spending on magic cards, and you start saving money, and then you start getting cards. You don't wait up until you've got enough to buy everything that you need. You just start getting them. And over time, you'll actually end up with an incredible collection. I bought 3 card collections from people last year that were down payments on houses. I mean, those were mostly cards that I sold those people. I mean, some of those cards came back to me, like a Lotus, that it's just like, oh, I remember this one. This was so beat up. Like, remember how cheap it was back then? Well, good news, it's gone up dramatically. So that's the idea. I mean, you're not going to be complaining if you spent extra money on, an Underground Sea now. Trying to get the rock bottom price may be very alluring, but it may not even be the best use of your time. Like, how much time are you going to spend trying to save, 10 or 20 bucks? You know what? If it's more than an hour, probably could work on your side hustle or like put in some overtime and get a much better use of your time. And this also ties into another idea that I've been thinking about, which is, we're a lot like dogs. Like, we can train ourselves to respond to different things where like that's what we get satisfaction out of. And like I've got a little mini schnauzer at home, and they will Loki is the dog's name. Loki will like present behavior because that's what he thinks that we want, and he has been trained to like feel really good about like sitting down or whatever tricks we've taught him. And like we can do that to ourselves. Like you can train yourself if you want to get satisfaction only out of, when you get the rock bottom prices, or you can train yourself to feel good about, saving up money and then getting the cards and actually moving forward. And very often those things are kind of at odds. Very often the idea of like waiting for the perfect time, like Bitcoin's like that. People trying to time like a dip in Bitcoin to like buy a bunch of it. It's like, why? What are you doing? What are you doing? You can just start picking it up over a 6-month period, over a year-long period, and eventually you've actually done something. You've actually, instead of just thinking about it, instead of just theorizing, you actually did something. And I don't know. I think all of these concepts are kind of tied together. I don't really see enough people talking about it. Maybe I'm not looking in the right place. But that's just kind of the idea, is actually just do it. Shia LaBeouf has the right idea here. Like just do it. Just actually do it. If you're gonna be saving up for a legacy deck, save up some money, start actually buying some cards, start actually playing. And there's kind of a universal law, like when good things start happening to you, they make more good things happen. When bad things happen to you, it makes more bad things happen. They kind of flow. It's like, when you go ahead and make positive changes in your life, they're going to open you up to make even more positive changes, and it's a feedback loop, and your life just keeps getting better and better and better. And a perfect example of that is what's happening right now with our shop. We have a benefactor, Fee, who has donated not only a VIP booster back for tonight's Wednesday Night Legacy. Somebody's getting one of these tonight. We're going to do a lottery, so it's a $10 entry fee. Just had a customer pop in there. So point is, if you've actually gone out and set up the webcam so you can actually play, you've got this huge opportunity where you're just randomly going to have a chance at getting a VIP booster just at random tonight. And not only has Fee donated so generously a VIP booster, he's also gone out and purchased from the store over $2,000 worth of cards that are being donated, that have been donated to the prize pool. That includes Gaia's Cradle, Mox Diamond, Mana Crypts, Fetch Lands, another VIP booster. He actually picked up my last VIP booster as well. And that's going to happen. And it's going to be for the people that have actually they just did it. They set up the webcam. They either got their cell phone working with some software, or they got a cheap webcam off of Amazon or whatever, and they're ready to go. And now that's another thing that can happen and just kind of be a positive thing in their life. So yeah, it all kind of ties together. Like, as it turns out, you just kind of have to move forward and do things. And that's what actually makes stuff happen. It's super simple. I mean, it sounds ridiculous when you put it that simply, but that's the reality. Like, if you want to make your life better, you got to actually do some stuff. You got to actually do things. And, this is just a really exciting time, I think, for Legacy players, despite all of the craziness. And right now we can't actually be meeting in person, and that's a huge downside. But we've got this really awesome opportunity to be playing via Discord, having this incredible lottery that's going to be adding just insane value and excitement to the events. And then, of course, we're still doing the 100% payout in entry fees as credit. We're still doing, these promo cards here, this entire stack. Like, this is all going to be given away, all of this to the players as a way to keep people playing and having fun, even in the midst of this pandemic. So let me know if you like this type of thing. Let me know if you find it boring and you don't want to see this on the channel, or if you think this is actually useful. But yeah, I really don't know anybody else that's ever looked back at a underground sea that's now worth, like $5 that they paid, 150 instead of 130, and have anything but positive feelings about currently owning the underground sea. It is really about actually getting it done. Like, you just save up, make it happen, move on to the next thing. If you can get it cheaper, like, that's an argument, but like, moving quickly is very often better than moving perfectly. And that is just something to consider, is just the ability to make those good moves and capitalize on good things coming from good things, and those kind of unforeseen consequences where all of a sudden, you happen to have a legacy deck together 6 months to a year earlier than you would have if you had taken a slower path. And just a reminder, if you have anything that's legacy legal, you can still play in these events. It doesn't have to be a tier 1 deck. Fee even mentioned like he might, when he gets into the tournaments, he might be jamming like a zombie Aether Vial deck that he's probably never won anything with, but it'll just be some fun, crazy interactions. And maybe he'll steal a game or two off of a tier 1 deck, which is super fun when that happens. So that is it. Let me know what you guys think, and we will see you at Wednesday Night Legacy tonight with a Double Masters VIP booster as additional prize support raffled off at the end.